Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon on such short notice. I appreciate y'all joining. Um, for those of you who don't know, my name is Laura Cruz Acosta. I'm the Communications Director for the City of El Paso. On the call today, who is going to be able to provide information is going to be our Deputy City Manager, Mario D'Agostino. He is our Deputy City Manager for Public Safety. And then also is our City Attorney, Ms. Carla Neiman. Joining us also this afternoon is going to be our Office of Emergency Management.
Recording in progress.
Office of Emergency Management Coordinator, Assistant Fire Chief Jorge Rodriguez, and also our City County Health Authority, Dr. Hector Ocaranza, as we've received several questions regarding some of the cleanup in the downtown area. So let me admit a few other folks who are joining us here, and then I'm also going to go ahead and record this for you all. Should you need the recording, I'm going to actually run down the list here of folks invited and give you all permissions to record as well. The last thing that I will ask you all to take into consideration is that we will be taking a limited number of questions. So we do ask, it's going to be in a first come, first serve. And so we will ask you to raise your hand once questions begin. And so we will take questions on a first come, first serve. I'm running down the list of folks in order to give you all permissions to record. If you do not have the capacity to record, or if you would like a copy of the recording, I do ask that you email me and I will send you a copy of the recording that I have on file. Once again, my email address is going to be my entire last name. It's going to be cruz-acosta@elpasotexas.gov. And Texas is all spelled out. And I think everyone should have permission to record. If you do not have permission, let me know. If you Also on the call this afternoon is Enrique Dueñas. He is going to be providing Spanish translation for those of you who need a Spanish translation. Okay, so everybody should have the recording capacity in order to record your files on this process. Okay, Chief D'Agostino, if I could ask you to turn on your camera and unmute yourself. And I will ask that you go ahead and start us off. After you speak, if I could ask Enrique to provide a Spanish translation.
And so, good afternoon, everyone. As you know, we're still continuing to see a large number of people out in the streets right now. We are tracking with Border Patrol. You know, it slowed down over the weekend as far as their apprehensions. I believe Sunday was under 1,000, 900, just over 900. Back up Monday at 1,361. So we're continuing to see those. Specific to Title 42 expulsions, yesterday was 214. We've been seeing an average over the past couple of weeks, holding at about 300 a day. So that's the impact of Title 42 people being returned via Title 42. But we do know that there's a large number of people that are in Juarez that are waiting for Title 42 to be lifted. So there does bring concern to that. With that, the city continues with all the efforts we have been doing. We have the convention center up and operational. We currently have about 496 people within the center itself. We continue to bring in on a daily basis, as well as we connect them with their travels out. We go ahead and outprocess them and then take them over either to the bus stations or to the airport. And so that'll continue. As we've talked about with the school facilities, we did take possession of one of the schools late last week. Teams have been out there every day since. We're looking at standing that up and transitioning into those facilities as well, seeing how the numbers continue over the next few days. The issues with the number of people on the street, those are those that are seeking not to go within a shelter system. So those are the ones we're having difficulty with. We continue to provide cleanups on a daily basis. So we'll go out and the teams will go out to the streets and they'll do daily cleanups. And that's for the health and safety of the community. And so we want to make sure that trash that's accumulating isn't left to just continue to pile. We don't want to have that out in the streets. So we do have those teams that continue to go out. That's kind of the update as we have for right now.
Thank you, Chief. I'll ask Enrique if you could provide a Spanish translation for us.
Hola, muy buenas tardes. Pues como comentaba el subdirector de Agostino, los números han estado manteniendo algo estables. Durante el fin de semana empezamos a ver un declive, empezamos a ver menos de 900 personas a la semana, menos de 900 personas que reportó la autoridad fronteriza, en este caso migración, y este lunes volvimos a tener aproximadamente 1,300 personas que se encontraron por parte de autoridades de migración. También, para las personas que se preguntan acerca del impacto que tiene el título 42, el día de ayer vimos 214 expulsiones a través de los mecanismos de migración gracias al título 42 y estamos viendo aproximadamente 300 personas en promedio, más o menos es lo que estamos viendo en cuestión de expulsiones diarias. También sabemos que hay un gran número de gente esperando en Ciudad Juárez para poder pasar una vez que el título 42, en caso de que suceda, sea levantado. Y obviamente esto es una preocupación por este número de personas, por lo tanto la actividad de la ciudad continúa en preparativos. Como lo saben, tenemos el centro de convenciones, que en esos momentos se encuentra con más de 400 personas, casi 500 personas albergadas allá adentro, y mientras se les ayuda a conectarse con sus familiares o con el destino al que van a llegar. Hay que recordar, esas personas simplemente están transitando por el paso. Las actividades también continúan, como lo hemos mencionado antes, con las escuelas de las cuales se tomaron posesión. Se están los equipos están preparando la zona para, dependiendo de cómo veamos estos números, ver qué actividad se va a estar realizando en este tipo de lugares para poder expandir nuestra capacidad. Y por último, también tenemos a las personas que están todavía en las calles. Esas son personas que están buscando no quedarse en el sistema de albergues que tenemos, ya sea con nosotros o con las organizaciones no gubernamentales. Están decidiendo por su cuenta estar al exterior. Y aún así estamos mandando a las cuadrillas de salud, esto por un tema de limpieza y de salubridad, para poder recuperar, para poder reclamar toda esta basura que se está quedando en las calles, para poder dejar el área limpia, y esto es para seguridad, como decíamos, seguridad y salubridad tanto de las personas que están allá afuera como de la comunidad que está alrededor. Y por el momento eso es todo. Gracias.
Gracias, Enrique. I'll now ask Ms. Carla Neiman if she could provide a general summary in terms of what we're seeing from the SCOTUS report.
Good afternoon, Carla. Carla Neiman for the record. So for purposes of what happened earlier today, the United States Supreme Court issued a ruling that it would allow for the states to intervene, the 19 states to intervene in the lawsuit that was issued, in the order that was issued by the DC court. That court found that Title 42 was illegal and unconstitutional. The states now seek to be part of that lawsuit to challenge the ruling from the district court in Washington, D.C. The United States Supreme Court also did state that its ruling was very narrow. They will not be issuing a ruling as to the validity of the DC court's decision. They are only going to issue a decision as to whether or not the states can be part of that lawsuit. The court also went on to state that the order that they were issuing today does not preclude, does not stop the federal government from making whatever changes it sees fit to Title 42, which means that the policy makers still have an opportunity to do something about Title 42.
Carla, did you want to go ahead and do the Spanish translation, or did you want Enrique to provide it for you?
If Enrique doesn't mind. Thank
Enrique,
you.
si puedes darnos la oportunidad.
Sí, como decía la licenciada Carla Neiman, la Corte de los Estados Unidos hoy dio el dictamen de que el título 42 permanece en efecto y permite a los 19 estados intervenir en la demanda. Esto es que está permitiendo que los estados que están retando el dictamen de la Corte en DC pueden estar involucrados, y también agregó que simplemente va a emitir dictámenes acerca de si se pueden involucrar o no estos estados. También aclaró que el gobierno federal puede hacer los cambios necesarios al título 42, sin embargo no va a estar haciendo dictámenes acerca de la la validez del título 42 como tal. Esto va a ser un proceso que continúa, entonces eso es la información que tenemos en este momento.
Muchísimas gracias, Enrique, te lo agradecemos mucho por la traducción. Now we're going to go ahead and open it up to questions. With that, I'm going to remind you all the hand raising is located under the lower section of the reactions. If you click there, you'll be able to raise your hand. First in line is going to be Bob Moore. Bob, if you can unmute yourself and ask your questions, and I'll ask you to limit it to 2 so that we can give enough time to other folks.
Yep. Thank you, Laura. This is probably for Chief D'Agostino. As you mentioned, there are a large number of people in Juarez who have been waiting for the end to Title 42. The problem you're seeing right now with large numbers of people on the streets are with people who essentially no longer wanted to wait for Title 42 and have grown frustrated. We're talking mainly about Venezuelans. So are you anticipating that with this ruling, keeping Title 42 in place probably for at least another 2 months, that you're going to see more people cross without processing through the Border Patrol? And if so, how are you going to deal with that increased population that'll be on the streets?
And great question, Mr. Moore, as always, but that's a difficult one. And that's what we're seeing. And we are seeing those numbers increase. We're seeing the numbers out in the street. And then, CBP is the one who does border protection. So if they continue to get in without being undetected, we're going to continue to have this population grow within our community. And so that is concerning. And so we're reaching out with all of our partners, our federal partners, because, at the end of the day, there is a process that everyone has to follow. And we really need to look on how we can make this sustainable for everybody. And seeing people in the streets not wanting to go into shelter is it's not ideal. No one wants that for their community. No one wants that for the people that are out in the streets. And so that's one of the things we're working on with them. But as far as enforcing immigration policies and who can be here or not, that truly is a federal issue. So we are having those conversations with our federal partners.
Your second question, Bob?
That was it, Laura. I'll turn it over to someone else.
Okay, thank you. Jesus?
Hi, thank you. My name is Jesus. I'm with KVI ABC 7. Yesterday, we talked to a migrant after you guys did that cleanup, and he told us, quote, of course, it's translating, "This is not the way to be treated," almost like he felt like they were treated almost like animals because they took away blankets, jackets. So what would you tell those migrants, like a migrant like him, if you had a chance to talk to them again?
I'll ask Dr. Ocaranza, who's on the call, if he could speak to this question. Dr. O? And if you could just remind folks who you are.
Yes, this is Dr. Carranza, the health authority for the city and the county. And that is an excellent question, because a lot of the people might not understand the whole sense of why the cleanup has to happen. And this is more in benefit for the safe and health of this migrant, because they might not know or be aware that we're not taking away the blankets. What we're trying to do is preserve health. And all these blankets, all these objects, things that are accumulating in a specific area can be a transfer for infectious diseases, for some other issues, even food that is not in good condition can lead to any health problems that will hinder their process or their journey to the destination that they have. So that is one of the explanations that I will give them. This is more for them. This is more to treat them and keep them healthy so they can reach their destination. This is not just as a form of aggression. This is a form of protection.
And to follow up that, how do you balance that out with like the cold weather we've been experiencing? Of course, it's starting to get a little warmer, but we may get another cold front bringing temperatures like the way we had in a couple of days ago. How do you balance that, like that risk of being out in the cold versus the potential of getting an infection or anything like that.
And for that question, I'll ask Chief D'Agostino if he could help answer that. On the operational side, one of the things that we've been providing is warming buses, as well as working with our NGOs and the convention center folks. Chief?
So yeah, we do continue that. We continue to keep our buses on site so they have a place to get out of the cold weather. We are working with the NGOs as well, who are providing the blankets. So we're making sure that their fresh blankets are going out. As Dr. Ocaranza talked about it, it's a health and safety issue. We're getting those blankets, they're laying off the street. We're making sure they're cleaned up, and they're being provided out additional blankets, as well as food. So food is as it's laying out there, we're picking that up and throwing it away. And we're making sure that we're coordinating with everyone, that there's more meals coming in. And so we do have those close communications with all of our partners to make sure that it's a continuous effort, but it's about the health and safety of the community and those that are staying out in the street right now.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Dr. Ocaranza. And I'll ask Enrique if you could provide a brief Spanish translation of that.
Sí, bueno, como lo hemos visto, también las cuadrillas de limpieza han estado saliendo a las calles, han estado removiendo algo de la basura, algunos alimentos que son perecederos, que no están en buena condición allá afuera y que podrían presentar un riesgo de salud a la comunidad. Y de igual manera también algunos de estos objetos, como algunas de las cobijas, como se ha visto, también han sido removidas por riesgos de salubridad. Sin embargo, se está trabajando con nuestras organizaciones no gubernamentales y con nuestro albergue dentro del centro de convenciones para poder seguir proveer nuevas cobijas a las personas que están allá afuera, y también se siguen poniendo los camiones a disposición de las personas que están pasando la noche en las calles para que puedan entrar y calentarse. Entonces es una labor que se sigue haciendo y se está no solamente retirando los objetos que deben de ser retirados ya por una cuestión de salud, sino también se están entregando nuevos junto con alimentos, cobijas, para poder seguir manteniendo a las personas en una situación segura dentro de lo posible.
Gracias, Enrique. Next with a hand raise is Martha. Martha, if you could unmute yourself and ask your first two questions.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Martha Paskowski with the El Paso Times. I wanted to ask how you all anticipate the numbers of migrants arriving, whether that might change with this ruling today. It seems like it is sort of a catch-22 that we anticipated the lifting of Title 42 would result in more people coming, but you all noted that this desperation and the long period of time Title 42 has been in place is leading people to come anyways now. So do you all anticipate these high numbers we've seen over the last couple of weeks to continue going forward?
And I'll ask Chief Agostino or Chief Rodriguez if you might be able to provide some light into this.
Yeah, so with Title 42 remaining in place, we know that excludes the Venezuelan population. The numbers that are going to continue to come in without going through Customs and Border Patrol, that I can't predict. So that we're not sure. We know there's a lot more enforcement along the border, so maybe those numbers will be held to what we already have currently in the streets, but that's to be determined. As far as the vast majority who've been crossing through over the last several weeks, I can see that withholding. And so, we might have saw a low over the weekend, but we saw it climb up again already yesterday. I believe today they're already talking about there's going to be some large numbers going into tomorrow. And so that's what we're monitoring. We're making sure we're prepared, as we knew before we had this coming upon us. We were already getting to those heavy apprehensions, and 2,500 per day. We're having 1,700 people released within the city of El Paso. That's a lot of people right now with the weather that's been affecting the country, and you have the delays in flights and buses. And so that really puts the backlog and it puts the onus on sheltering. And so that's our main concern. That's why we continue to go forward with our planning, because we anticipate that those numbers will get back to what we saw maybe about 10 days ago. And we're predicting it's going to hold at that.
Thank you, Chief. Martha, any second question?
Yeah, on a different note, I don't know if the city's had any involvement in this, but was the city notified about the shipping containers that were placed along the Rio Grande, kind of below 375 Paisano? So I'm hearing, some concerns that was done, without authorization and so on.
That authorization does not come from the city of El Paso. We had no optics on that. I don't know who sent them out there.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Juliana?
Yes, good afternoon. My first question is when is the city expecting to open these two shelters in the vacant schools? That's my first question. And my second question is about we're working on a story about complaints in Segundo Barrio of migrants harassing women, migrants smoking pot on the streets, migrants defecating on the streets. Is there anything that the city is doing to guarantee the safety of the residents of El Paso? We understand that there's a lot of good people, but unfortunately, we are now hearing complaints among the residents.
That's exactly it. And so, public health and safety is our main concern. And it's why we asked for the mayor to ask for resources from the state and then to ask for a declaration. And it was to make sure that we can maintain those resources so we can make sure that the community's safe. And by doing that, we asked for 3 items, as we talked about before. It came in the form of transportation, so some of the buses to help decompress. As we're seeing right now with all the plane delays, decompression is needed. They're getting a lot longer stayers within the hotel system. And so that is a big concern. We also asked for law enforcement, and that's the extra DPS agents that you're actually seeing driving around downtown and along the border highway. Those are the assets we requested to help for this very reason. And it's to do those extra patrols to make sure we're not pulling just our local police department or sheriff's officers in to patrol this area, but to bring in extras so that we can continue those departments can continue to serve the community at large. And so we didn't want to pull all our resources into the downtown area. So that's why we asked for those outside resources. What are we doing to help alleviate the situation? We've also put out porta potties out there. We put them, in a couple of the 2 areas where they're congregating, either by Sacred Heart Church or by the bus terminal. And that's so people won't be defecating, as you said, on the streets, and we won't be having that health hazard. That's the other reason why we continue to go out and we continue to do these street cleanups. And it's to make sure that we don't see that taking over the community and all those items left there and trash that just blows onto people's property. So we're making sure we're going out there on the daily. It's for the health and safety of the migrant themselves and that neighborhood at large. And so those are some of the items we're doing to help alleviate this.
And I'll ask Enrique if he could provide the Spanish translation for you, Juliana.
Sí, acerca de las preocupaciones de seguridad pública, exactamente en el segundo barrio, es parte del apoyo que se solicitó al Estado, parte de la solicitud que se hacía al alcalde para hacer esta declaración de emergencia, para poder solicitar recursos, entre ellos principalmente uno, que son los traslados, autobuses en específico, esto porque estamos viendo retrasos en los aeropuertos, estamos viendo varios retrasos en múltiples medios de transporte a causa de la tormenta invernal. Por lo tanto, necesitamos más autobuses para poder ayudar a decomprimir y poder ayudar a esta gente a seguir avanzando y no quedarse aquí atorados en el paso por tanto tiempo y se acumulen. Lo segundo que también se solicitó fueron oficiales de seguridad pública, que son los que han estado viendo ya patrullando las zonas, tanto de la carretera del Bordo como alguna de estas zonas cerca del centro, que son oficiales del Departamento de Seguridad Pública de Texas o troopers, que están monitoreando la zona, están patrullando, algunos están estacionados en ocasiones por diferentes turnos para poder estar monitoreando la situación de seguridad pública en las calles. Y por último también baños portátiles que se están poniendo en las zonas donde se acumulan, específicamente cerca de la estación del autobús y cerca de la iglesia del Sagrado Corazón. Esto para poder proveer a las personas una forma de hacer sus necesidades sin estar haciendo en la calle. Y aunado a esto viene también las cuadrillas de limpieza que están yendo diario para poder mantener limpia esta zona y que no se empiece a acumular desecho humano, que no se empiece a acumular basura u otros objetos que la gente va dejando y la comunidad se ve afectada. Gracias.
Gracias, Enrique. Juliana, sí, contestamos las 2 preguntas, ¿sí?
No, falta la de cuándo se espera que se abra al público, perdón, a los migrantes.
Sí, las 2 escuelas. Chief, her second question was with relation to when we anticipate to have the 2 schools open up.
Thank you, and sorry about that. So we took possession of the first school late last week. Crews have been working on site. They've been coordinating, preparing, getting everything ready. We hope to have the first school ready and operational within the next 2 days. The second facility, we don't actually take possession until the end of the week. So we don't have possession in there. We haven't gone in. We haven't done the pre-work that's required and getting everything set up as well. So that one will be, into the following week, maybe into the next after that. But for right now, we continue to work on the property that we have acquired, and we are hoping to get that one operational within the next 2 days. Now, it depends on occupancy on how we transition. So that's also looking at the daily releases, what's coming out. So that'll determine as the open date as well.
Thank you, Chief. Enrique, si puede hacer la traducción.
Sí, pues acerca de las dos escuelas que se están preparando para utilizarse como albergues. La primera escuela se tomó posesión por parte de la ciudad la semana pasada a finales, se está todavía haciendo los preparativos, pero esperamos en los próximos 2 días tener ya listas estas instalaciones. La segunda escuela están todavía en preparativos para que podamos tomar posesión, que sería esto, estamos esperando a finales de esta semana, y que las instalaciones estuvieran listas tal vez a partir de la próxima semana, a finales tal vez, o incluso la siguiente semana para poder ya empezarlas a ocupar. Sin embargo, la transferencia o la ocupación de estos lugares va a depender mucho de lo que empecemos a ver en cuestión de números. También todo depende de las liberaciones que empecemos a ver a partir de las autoridades fronterizas dentro de la ciudad. Entonces es una situación todavía fluida que vamos a estar observando, monitoreando cómo continúa para ver de qué manera se utilizan estos espacios.
Gracias, Enrique. Verónica Martínez, si puedes prender tu micrófono.
Yes, thank you, Laura. Verónica Martinez for La Verdad de Juárez. And Chief D'Agostino, as you mentioned, we know that there are people in Ciudad Juárez waiting to cross as well. And as we're seeing Title 42 extending for a month or even 2 more months, are there any plans or already collaborations with authorities in Ciudad Juárez? And if it is so, how are you planning to collaborate to address the situation?
So you're asking what efforts we're doing to coordinate with Juarez, Mexico on
Yes.
the migrant population? So we do have close communications as far as numbers. They're asking what our resources look like. We're asking where they stand, looking at their capacities, what they're looking at. And that's just kind of intel for when they do come over, so we can prepare for that. As far as us going and providing services over there at the city of El Paso, we're not doing that right now. We coordinate with a lot of the local nonprofits and NGOs who are servicing both sides of the border. So we do have that. We have ears on that. But as far as the city of El Paso, we're not going over to Ciudad Juárez.
And if I could ask Enrique if he could help me provide the Spanish translation for us.
Sí, en estos momentos tenemos comunicación con Ciudad Juárez. Esto es meramente para propósitos de información. Estamos compartiendo información de cómo está nuestra ocupación en los albergues, cómo está dentro del lado de Juárez, qué recursos tienen ellos, qué recursos tenemos nosotros, para de esta manera poder estar preparados para cuando la población pase para este lado. Sin embargo, en cuestión de servicios, ahorita la ciudad del Paso no está compartiendo servicios con Ciudad Juárez. Sin embargo, estamos trabajando junto con las NGOs, las organizaciones no gubernamentales, ONGs, para que están trabajando de ambos lados de la frontera para poder estar coordinados, pero eso es lo que está haciendo hasta el momento.
Gracias, Enrique. Verónica, su segunda pregunta.
No, eso sería todo. Gracias.
Gracias. Jesús.
Hi, Jesus again with KVI ABC7 with another set of questions here. My first question is why, and I know it's already been mentioned, why are we still seeing people on the streets? I know you've mentioned some are refusing to be at the NGO shelters, also at the convention center. I know you guys cannot help people who crossed illegally and like don't have their asylum documents. But why are you guys having such difficulty getting people off the streets? Why are they refusing to stay in a shelter when they can?
The best I can say is they're scared. They've taken a tremendous journey just to get to where they're at. They've gone through a lot of hardships on their journey. They've talked about people they couldn't trust, people who've taken advantage of them. And now that they have made it here and they don't have the legal paperwork to be here, I think they're just concerned with that aspect, concerned about being in a facility where they could possibly someone could walk up and start the processing process. With Title 42 in place, that we understand that could displace a lot of people. So that's the best we could tell you. But talking with them, having the NGOs, I know that the bishop and a lot of clergy was out this weekend trying to convince them, and they just couldn't do it. And getting some of the feedback we're hearing from those partners who are on the street as well, that's what they're telling us, is they just fear that being taken for processing aspect.
Thank you. My
Thank you.
second question, so right now, of course, Title 42 still in place, but as we've seen, I mean, that can change any minute. And I know you guys have been preparing and all that, but if it's lifted, do you guys have enough capacity right now to handle the expected number, like the expected surge of migrants that may be coming down? Do we have enough right now? If you have enough space, enough manpower to do it?
So that's to be determined. And so when you think about some of the numbers, some people talk about 10 to 15,000 people waiting in Juarez to cross over. If those were to come in all in a relatively short time frame, space would be difficult. We know transportation would be difficult. And so those are some of the issues that we've been asking the federal government to assist with in looking at different models, maybe set up the Fort Bliss, the military land that they've done in the past for such as the Afghanis, and treating them more like, from the asylum seekers, treating them more like refugees. And so that's to handle that capacity. Because if you see 10 to 15,000 people come in a matter of days, no, we don't have enough beds. Are we preparing? Are we doing the best? Yes, we are. So we have the convention center, which we know we can scale up even farther. We have 2 schools coming online within the next, by the end of next week. And so that adds more to our footprint. We continue to work with all of our other NGOs. And this weekend, there was hotels that were set up. There was also a couple of parishes within the diocese that actually stood up and opened their doors to sheltering. And so it's this group effort that we're trying to create as many beds as we can. But you couple that with a weather event that affected the entire nation, that canceled thousands of flights, delayed buses, canceled bus lines. And so that puts everyone on a backlog. Even though we're seeing low numbers right now, we still have high numbers in our shelters because we can't move them on. And that's why we always talk about that transportation piece as well. And so we're preparing for when it does go away and we do see that surge. But if it's not controlled and you see 15,000 people crossing within a couple of days, it is going to be hard pressed to have enough sheltering for everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. If you need this recording, just a reminder to shoot me an email, cruz-acosta@elpasotexas.gov. If you need the names of the individuals who were here speaking. Thank you again, everybody.